Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this Wednesday, July 5th, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. Anyway, I went to a roller coaster, these people, and the thing went upside down to stop there for hours and hours. And they're locked inside a seat, with harnesses and everything, hanging upside down, like 50 feet in the air. Can't undo the harnesses or anything, you'll fall. But you're upside down, and the blood's hanging down to your head. I don't know how on earth you'd stay alive for hours after hours and that. Being upside down for hours and hours. Imagine the pressure on your brain, all that blood in your head. It must do some sort of damage. Anyway, so I guess there was an older fella on there, and they got him off first, You won't get me on any of those upside-down roller coasters, I'll tell you that much. Roller coasters in general, I saw another roller coaster this week where every time it was going around the corner, the whole big pinion that was holding it together, the big post that was holding it together, would separate, and it was a big crack in the roller coaster. Been an awful lot of things happen like that. And other stories. Is this the White House or is it Columbia? Cocaine all over the White House. Honest to goodness, people, this is just indicative of what things are becoming and how far we've fallen down. It's just indicative of that. Now, in other things I wanted to show you guys, what you're looking at right here is a picture of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine. Now, remember, they blew the dam just upriver. So all of what you're seeing here used to be water all the way up to those power plants way back there in the distance, which looks like it's about 2 miles away, by the way. That used to be water all the way up to the power plant. Now it's all drained off. And this is what's left of the Dnipro River right here. Now look how far it is from what's left of the Dnipro River to the nuclear power plant. Look how far away it is. That nuclear power plant's way off there in the distance. How are they going to keep that thing cool? You just can't shut off water to a giant nuclear facility like this. This is massive problem. And how would they get the water even from here where we're sitting looking our vantage point all the way to that power plant? Are they going to make a pipeline quick enough to, or pumps or something? I don't know. Just asking questions, but it looks like they certainly ain't going to carry it by the bucket full. They'd be walking like for 3 hours to get there. And a truck can't drive across those flats. It'd sink. How are they going to keep that thing cool? It requires millions of gallons a day to keep it cool from melting down. Especially the spent fuel rods that are kept in the containment area. And I was looking last night, I was reading up on this, and I was looking at maps and charts that they show of what the disaster would be like. And a meltdown of the reactor core would not be the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario for nuclear poisoning that would spread all over the place would be those spent fuel rods in the containment pools and stuff. And if there's a radiological disaster and NATO has to run in there, well, Russia's fighting the war in there, and the whole thing could erupt into some sort of a situation that I don't even want to describe. So this is a big problem right here, and it hasn't manifested itself yet. Most people don't even know. I'm going to tell you guys what. For most people out there right now in their lives, this war is not even on their radar. it's like a hidden war. It's like a war that's camouflaged itself in the midst of a whole bunch of other wars that like, you know, the Iraq War, the Syrian War, the war in here, there, and everywhere, these other wars. And people think about this war, they just think, oh, it's just another one of all this big long line of wars, and they don't pay any attention to it at all. It's just because we're always in a war someplace or another. And most people aren't paying any attention to this. Moving on. Look at this. This is gold priced against the United States debt. From the year 1970 through 2023. You know, look at the price of gold back in 1970, and back, and that's the gold-colored line. You know, the black-colored line is the debt. Now you notice something, and as the debt goes up, so does the gold. But there are times, like in around the year 2000 there, where the gold price dipped below the debt. But it doesn't stay there for a very long period of time. That means that gold's cheap. And they've taken on a whole bunch of new debt. And the price of the amount of money, and those are the best times to buy gold, when it dips down below this black line right here, because that means gold's too cheap, considering how much money they've produced. Right? So we see it there in the year 2000, that gold's too cheap. Where's my bar marker? And if we look again, it dipped down below around the year 2014 or something. It dipped down below the line. But right now we're more below. We're more below right now than we've ever been before. Right now. Look right here. If we look up the very top, the very pinnacle here, we can see we're more below the line. That means the gold's the cheapest it's ever been right now, as far as compared to the United States debt. But it always plays catch up. Because if you follow these lines, it always plays catch up in the end. So it's going to catch up. So we're going to see a bounce. Because the debt's going to keep increasing. It's at 31.4 trillion, and it's just going to keep going higher. There's no stopping this. They try to stop this, the system will start to break apart. The system will start to go into bankruptcy. It'll be a default on everything. And they can't afford that in the system. They can't afford a default on everything. So they will continue after a while. But they're just being a little bit tight right now. What'll stop them from being tight is when we start to go into deflation. They're terrified of deflation. Real deflation. And it can happen suddenly. This inflation that we've had, now this inflation's changed its complexion from when they first started tightening. There was a lot more demand. So this demand side inflation, it was being fueled by people. Like after the COVID, people were running out to the stores, they were running out to the shopping malls, they had stimmy checks and everything else to spend, and so of course the consumer was red hot, and so of course retailers are going to say, hey, let's jack the price up, because retailers will always charge what they think you can pay. But all of a sudden, if it all dries up and the retailers see their merchandise sitting there and it ain't moving, they're not going to keep inflating the price. In fact, they may have a price reduction. And, you know, this applies all the way across the board. As far as inflation's concerned, to have inflation, you have to be able to have a certain amount of demand. If there's no demand, there's going to be no inflation. Well, things are going to dry up. The consumer's tapped out. And this is going to be a sudden effect. So maybe they have made inflation transitory, but by gosh, it sure is going to scare them when that actually proves to be true. And the whole system starts to collapse into a deflationary event. Not unlike what happened in 1929 and during the Great, not the GFC, the Great Depression. That's what we're headed toward right now, and rapidly. If they don't turn it around, then to turn it around, they have to kill the dollar. There you go. Silver price today, $22.86. It's down 9 cents on the day so far. So we're at rock bottom, but that's not saying it couldn't go a little bit lower on gold and silver. You know, but they're down near. They're getting near the mining production. Mining production costs have increased like crazy. Just like you guys, your costs for everything that you do in life has increased lately, hasn't it? Big time? Doesn't it cost you a lot more to get anything done now? You want to do a renovation on your house? It's going to cost you a lot more. You want to get your car fixed? It's going to cost you a lot more. It's costing like double what it used to cost, right? Well, it's the same thing if you're a miner. You got to do all those things. You got to pay for fuel. You got to keep your machines. You got to buy hydraulic oil. You got to buy parts and pieces to make your machines work and keep your machines working. You got to pay wages. Everything's going up, up, up. And so the cost of production of an ounce of silver's went up, up, up. But the price hasn't went up. And so what's happening is the cost of production is nearing too close for comfort to the spot price. And what that means is there's not much wiggle room here for the markets. And they can manipulate, if they wanted to, tomorrow morning they could manipulate this spot price down to almost zero. But where would that leave the miners? How much profit margin would they have then? Would they continue mining? And of course, if they stopped mining, how long would that take before it translates into the marketplace? A few months. So they know that they better keep the spot price here in their manipulation above the mining production cost price. And they know that. And so it's a very, very tight line right now. Okay, cryptocurrency today. What we're seeing is Bitcoin a price at 30,406, and Ethereum is at 1911. Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 10 points at 34,418. Taking a look at crude oil is at 71.18. So crude oil just took a jump of $1.39. That's quite a large jump for crude. Crude oil price is going up a little bit. Bonds and rates today, what we're looking at is rising yields rising on the long end. So a 10-year, 3.88, it's up 2.4 basis points. And the 30 years at 3.9, it's up 2.9 basis points. Taking a look at the dollar index today, is at 103.14, and it is going along sideways today. Well, guys, very dangerous world we live in right now. Do not get lackadaisical about your preps right now. Russia has said that they're talking that the Ukrainians are going to sabotage the nuclear plant, and the Ukrainians are saying that Russia's going to sabotage the nuclear plant. And that's what I've been hearing. But meanwhile, I'm watching, and it looks like there's no water there anyway. So, the whole thing is what would be the word? Just I try to keep things clean on my channel, but this is just a total wipeout mess over there. And how will it turn out? How will it pan out? That's the thing. And I don't think we're going to have to wait a whole long time to find out. But I myself to this afternoon, I'm going to run in. I'm going to get myself some more bottled water this afternoon. Because I don't want to go dry. I don't want to drink rainwater. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.